The vision for Weller guest rooms came from actually a very personal journey I had with a homeless guy. I met this guy fairly randomly. He ended up coming to a fitness class I was running. Yeah, good. Get that arm straight at the bottom, get the full stretch of the bicep at the bottom. And then after that class, I had the realization that I was going to go back to my house. It was in the winter, central heating was on, and he was going to be going to the local bus stop. And I just, something within me felt this wasn't right. And I'd been working with homeless people for a number of years, but I just couldn't get away from the fact that I couldn't just leave this guy to go back to the bench. 3, 2, 1. So I happened to have, we have a family van, a camper van, and so I asked if he wanted to come back to and sleep in the van for a night. So he did that. And that progressed for a few days. I spoke to my wife and we said, this is something we should maybe just try and offer him more of a permanent place to stay whilst he's in his season of recovery. And it was quite a tricky period. My wife had just literally given birth a couple of weeks beforehand. But he lived in our van and we kind of started getting to know him as a family, invited me in for meals. He'd come in, had this routine of coming in for breakfast every morning, using the bathrooms and then come in for a meal. And he would go and do his own thing as well. Sometimes he'd go away for a couple of weeks and come back. But we started to build a real close connection with him. Something very beautiful was emerging. And I realised at that moment the power of a family gathering around somebody. And the next move, we converted our garage. So we built a internal pod inside the garage. And he had running water and a toilet in there. And he was able to come in. It was a warm space. He was able to come in and engage with the family. It was an up and down journey for him in his own recovery with mental health. But I could really see a progression. And we were able to stay with him for a long time. And he's now he's got his own flat that's not too far from us. So that was my experience and a family experience. And then thinking, well, how could this be replicated in some way? Is there something in this that could be really beneficial for maybe for other families? We gained a massive amount from it, but beneficial for both families and somebody that's on the streets or needing accommodation. And so got talking to a good friend, Chris, who we've worked together, Chris, the architect, and thought kind of, is this a good idea? Could we do something? And he thought about it and kind of getting quite excited about, actually, we could do something about this, particularly around garages.
So here we've got the garage that's attached to the house, but it has its own separate access so that guests can come and go at leisure and feel that degree of independence. Yeah. But it would probably also have then a linking internal door into the house, so they also feel part of the household. Yeah. I'm Chris. I'm a residential architect working in Bristol. Live and work in Bristol with my family, living in St Paul's. My personal end to the Weller guest rooms was we have a teenager from Afghanistan who moved in just over 3 years ago, and he's been staying with us and it's just been so great for our kids, for our family. He's enriched our lives and we've created a safe space for him to live and settle and establish a life, move on from his trauma, and just get some independence and hope for the future. So when Malk said to me about the Weller guest rooms, I thought, this is fantastic. I'm a residential architect, so I'm working with clients all the time who have garages they're not using. And I've done so many garage conversions for people who just want an additional guest room for elderly relatives who can't get up the stairs, or additional bedroom for their expanding family. I thought this would be a great use of space for people who maybe like us would love to have welcomed in a refugee or homeless person like Malk did.
And for me, there's this really ancient law that asked farmers not to harvest the edge of the field, and for those crops that harvest to be taken by the poor. And it's a really beautiful law. And I was considering about what's my metaphoric field, and that for me at that time was the van, was the garage. Go broader. Is that something that other people with garages that aren't being used could actually consider converting into a guest room? Importantly, a guest room that brings somebody into a family environment and to facilitate their healing, give them shelter, and to be a great blessing to that family as well.